What if you're wrong? And what if that's not your fault? You see, you've been sold a lie. In fact, you've probably been sold a whole bill of lies. Lies about your leadership, lies about strategy, lies even about success and about authenticity and about certainty. I'm Karl Martin, and this is The Truth About. We're going to explore and expose some of these concepts, and we're going to get to the truth so that you might lead from a deeper place. Hi, welcome to the Arable Leader podcast. I'm Karl Martin, and with my co-host Esther,
Hello.
who is still my daughter and still full of ideas, concepts, and opinions. We're in the middle of a series, The Truth About, and what is the truth about today, Esther?
We're looking at the truth about strategy.
And the truth about strategy, let's get straight to it. The truth about strategy is that it's overrated. That strategy is overrated, and our obsession with a strategic plan is actually the very thing that's killing us.
Strong. Wow.
Yeah, because if you don't have a dynamic, iterated plan that is regularly approved by you, regularly looked into, regularly focused on, then you get dead in a stagnant strategic plan, which is static. And so your strategy is overrated.
But is it not human nature to have a plan?
Totally. And you need a plan. I think what I'm saying is that your business plan, the thing you started out with, is actually only really there for your investors and your board.
Right.
Because if you're smart in business terms, you know that you've got to start with something, have a go at it, have another go at it, work it out, and then develop it as you go along. If you're entrepreneurial or a pioneer, your first idea is probably rubbish. Your second idea is half baked, and your third idea, well, now we're cooking. Tell me what the plan is by the end of the third idea. Don't write your autobiography until you've actually developed the thing. But know that this thing is dynamic. The static plan is not a good plan. No plan is not a good plan. Your static plan is not a good plan. Yesterday's plan is not a good plan.
Is there any good plan?
Yep. A dynamic plan.
Okay.
And a dynamic plan is more like a framework than a playbook.
Okay.
In other words, it's broad. It gives opportunity for people to contextualize, to innovate, to fail, to have another go, to try again, to get better. And you're not stuck in something that seemed like a good idea 3 years ago. Because if you obsess about a strategic plan or a business plan, what happens is you get stuck in a position. You're the leader. You have to do these things. You get stuck in processes that owe more to your idea of a year ago or 2 years ago, and the world changed and your company changed and the context changed. And you get stuck with policies which are actually organizational scar tissue. You only have policies because someone screwed up, and then someone screwed up again, and then you added more policies and more policies and more policies, and to the point where you can't move anymore. And you can't innovate anymore. You can't pioneer anymore because you're stuck. So your strategic plan is overrated.
What is the difference between a dream and a plan?
Well, I think a dream is a concept and an idea, a vision, a mission that you're going after, which is broad enough for you to find your way to it with a compass and a guide. A plan is the pathway that gets you to the dream. And that pathway will change a bit like, your GPS, your Waze, your Apple. Is that old school?
No, it's American.
It's Apple Maps, Google Maps.
Yeah.
Like there are different routes to get to the place. And I just want to free you up from getting stuck living your business life or your personal life even by step, paint by numbers, this follows this in a very linear way. I think you need to fail, iterate, have a go, push the boundaries, test things out, practice it, go back to the drawing board, and develop something that feels more like a framework. And we'll talk about that framework in a moment.
Right. So I want to turn this conversation into a bit of a story time because obviously you have a business, you have a company, Arable. That's why we're here. Did you have a business plan?
Yeah, kind of. A very limited one. And the plan was really, in fact, if I'd have stuck with my plan, we wouldn't be here today. My plan was to be a leadership coach, to operate with what I knew, which was a non-profit church world. I thought I would be coaching church leaders and non-profits, probably in the UK and maybe a few in the States. I thought it would just be me with maybe a bit of a support team. And I thought I might eventually write a book. But because I wasn't obsessed with a plan, and I was more interested in a vision, a dream, a culture, a way of operating, what happened is almost all the reverse of those things. And so, I have almost no church nonprofit clients there. It's business, sports, politicians. I have written a book, writing another. I now live in the US. We have a team of 8 people, which is growing on pretty rapidly, sometimes a bit scarily for me. And I don't know where all this ends up and where this goes. But the reason that it is significantly bigger than I thought it would be is because I became obsessed with a framework and not a playbook. I became obsessed with saying, I'm not just going to follow exactly, if I'd have believed all the policies that were given to me, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now. I was told very early in the process of setting up Arable that you can't really become friends with your clients. Because as a professional relationship, you have to be very careful around all that stuff. And I totally understand that policy. I understand why that's in place because of pain of relationships and difficulty of navigating the contract and the covenant and how you do that. But the truth is, I've become close friends with almost all my clients.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, to the point where, I go stay with them when I coach them and
You've
they come stay with us.
given me best friends. Their kids, my best friends.
Yeah, and the reality is it works for me because that's the stuff I teach. That's the way in which I've chosen to live my life.
Yeah.
And so knowing how to calibrate those relationships has been really important. I think it's probably helpful if we give those who are listening the framework that I use, and then we can riff off of that. So framework, not playbook. Playbook tends to restrict people and make an organization institutional pretty quickly. Do this, do this, do this, do this. You become grooved in ways of doing things. It becomes very difficult for you to innovate or flex or pivot or change. The illustration that I often use is football, proper football, not American football, soccer. Gareth Southgate, manager of the England football team, the most successful manager since the World Cup that we won in 1966. He got to one final, 2 semi-finals with an amazing team. But he had, the reason he didn't win the World Cup, the reason ultimately he was unsuccessful, is he didn't have the ability to pivot, flex, change system in the moment. His team was set up in such a way, strategic way, tactical, strategic way to operate. And they didn't seem to have the ability to innovate and change in the moment because I think they had playbooks, not frameworks, which was sad because the talent in that team was incredible. If they were given freedom,
we would have had a great party
so
if
bored,
they won.
don't you?
I'm trying to get into the
so
sport
hard.
chat.
Okay. But so here's
at least I know who Gareth Southgate is.
Okay. So five questions I ask every client. Individual questions that layer up to team questions, that layer up to organizational questions. They're very, very simple. And when I first share this with most people in corporate America, they roll their eyes and then they end up taking notes and end up applying it to their organization. Why, where, what, how, and who.
So
why, where, what, how, who.
Would this be helpful obviously I don't have an organization. I don't have a
Not yet.
business. Not yet. Would it be helpful to apply this to a person?
100%. We're going to be running at the beginning of 2026 some retreats at the start of the year in which we'll build out this blueprint, this framework for people to be able to apply to their individual lives or to their organization's lives. So your why is your purpose.
Right.
It's the pivotal or fulcrum of the whole of your life. It's why you exist. It's your yes. It's what's the point of Esther. Let's use you. What is the point of Esther? And it creates a filter through which you can make every decision. Should I do this? No, it's not my why. It's not my why. It's not my yes. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't apply that thing. So that's your yes. It's your why. Your where is your dream. It's your vision. It's your vision question. Where am I aiming at? In 3 years' time, what do I... And that's way more forensic and way more specific. How much money? How many people? Where am I going to be situated? What's the job going to be? What am I going after? It's a target out there, right? The pathway between your why and your where is walked by your what and your how and your who. Your what is your strategy.
Okay.
Right? Your strategy is your goals, your roles, your processes. Your how is your culture or your spirit. It's the fact that your brand is never what your branding agency tells you it is. It is the overflow of your beliefs and your behaviors.
Okay.
You can't do a good thing in a bad way and call it great. So your culture, your spirit and your strategy always speak together. You don't have a great strategy if you haven't got a great spirit. You don't have a great spirit if you haven't got a great strategy. So when Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, he was half right and half wrong. Culture and strategy sit down for lunch. They are the same thing. They operate together.
Okay.
They need to operate together. And then in the middle of it, there's a who. So who's going to do these things? How am I going to develop my people? How am I going to love my people? People are everything. They are the people that walk the pathway. They're the people that walk the pathway. So as you're developing a framework, don't worry about traditional business plans. This much money and these people and this thing. Really worry about why you exist, so you can filter that stuff. So you cannot get distracted by things you shouldn't do. Really worry about what you're shooting after. What's the big picture plan, and then understand that the rest of it is pretty dynamic, right? What you're going to do and how you're going to do. They're dynamic things. Who's going to take what role? What position they're going to have? Dynamic things. People change roles all the time. People will come in, people will leave, people will be employed. And that creates a dynamic conversation for you, and which you should have like every year at least, a yearly framework conversation. So that I think that's really helpful, because this is fractal. What happens for you will happen in your team, will happen in your organization. So it works in every dynamic.
So I still need a plan. So is there anything practical that you would give me to start making a framework for myself, for my life?
Totally. You still need a plan which helps you walk the pathway. And the plan could be something like your idea, your thesis, testing it with the opposite idea, another thesis or an antithesis, a coming together of those ideas, a synthesis. This one, a bit of this, mold them together. But the key it's getting better. The key to it is praxis. The key to it is having a go at it.
Right.
The key to it is having a go at it, trying it out. So having a shot, having a go, and not worrying about whether it succeeds or fails, because failure is actually a good thing, because failure is learning. Your fear about failure is the thing that's stopping you actually moving the ball down the field. It's the thing that's stopping you actually making the framework work. And of course, there's two kinds of failure. There's stupid failure and there's successful failure.
Yeah.
Stupid failure is continuing to do the same thing again and again and again and getting the same results.
Definition of insanity, right?
Exactly. And then the successful failure, which is pushing the boundaries so that you might find solutions. It's having a go at things that seem like speculation but might end up offering you new knowledge, new wisdom, so that your organization or your team can grow. And what I'm encouraging you to do is have a go. Have a go, and then go back. So thesis, antithesis, synthesis, praxis, praxis. Go back and create a new thesis. Okay, so this is what we now know. What also could be true, and what could be true. Well, let's find a simple way of expressing that, and then let's have a go at it. And that circle of having a go at it. So let's make it really practical for your life, right? So you want to make it in music, right? You want to write songs, produce songs, sing songs, right? Testing out all the challenges that are going to come at that. What could be a problem? What else could be true for you? You have an amazing voice. How could you use that voice? You have a presence. How could you use that presence?
Yeah.
Okay, having those conversations, and then bringing those conversations together in a simple synthesis. Well, I am brilliantly gifted at this, and this. I probably should avoid that. And then having a go, pitching yourself, knocking on doors, saying yes to every opportunity, and then coming back round again to another thesis that says, well, I've kind of refined that idea.
Yeah.
I want to make it in this niche, this genre, this idea. What else could be possible for me with that? Okay, let's have a go at that.
No, it's good. I'm thinking about failure though. And obviously we learn from failure. Failure is good, is what you're saying. How would I practically apply that to my life and not feel rejected and disheartened by multiple failures? Yeah.
Well, it's significantly more difficult, I think, for Brits than Americans.
Okay.
Because of the poverty mindset, the lack mindset, the stay in your lane mindset, the don't have a go mindset, or that if you have a go and you don't succeed mindset, you're written off. We don't encourage entrepreneurial spirits.
Yeah.
Right. So it's significantly difficult because what is hardwired for us in our culture is have a go if you succeed. Well done, you. Have a go if you fail. You basically should never try that again.
Yeah.
It's more helpful now that you've moved, you're here with us in the States, to start to adopt that kind of mindset, which is have a go, good on you. Fail, good on you. Fail again, good on you. You're probably not going to succeed until you failed 3 or 4 times. That's an entrepreneurial spirit.
Right.
That's in the water. So I would say it's more difficult for you, but you've got to push on through it. The opposite is true, I think, for the American mindset, is that sometimes you need to stop.
Okay.
Right, just stop enough. You're not any good at that. You believe something that's not true. And actually, we have limitations, and limitations are good for us.
Yeah.
But
this comes back to seeing yourself soberly, seeing yourself as...
with sober judgment.
With who you are instead of delusions.
Yeah, and how do you test out who you really are and what might be possible? By having a go.
You got to try.
By creating safe spaces to have dangerous goes.
That's good. Safe spaces to have dangerous goes.
Yeah, because and safe spaces is really important, because if you don't have a safe space, you really can't trust whether the feedback you're getting, the responses you're getting, are responses that you can trust. And you don't know whether you're really showing up authentically as who you are, because you're always guarding yourself and guarding your heart.
Yeah.
So finding spaces where people want the best for you.
Yeah.
People are in it for you as well as they're in it for them. Just having a go, having the freedom.
I think this is a really powerful tool for me as an individual, obviously not a company, but as an individual, to be able to find ways to get out of feeling stuck and not knowing what step to take, and just coming back to actually, who am I and what am I for? I think it's really powerful.
Absolutely. And it works. I've seen it work with individuals, with organizations, with teams. And it's so simple that it feels like it shouldn't work. But what it does is it breaks people out of playbooks that are limiting them, and introduces them to conversations around a framework that would free them, because so many of us have adopted someone else's why, someone else's where, contextual or incidental what, an accidental how, and a bunch of people that are around their life which they just kind of stumbled across. Now, some of those things can end up very beautiful in their season, but often, well, you just don't want to live your life accidentally. You want to live it intentionally. And so these things give you pause to stop and go, why am I? What is the point of me?
Yeah.
And you don't have to live every single moment of every single day doing exactly what you should be doing, because life is not as clean as that. But actually being able to intentionally say, this is what I'm for. This is my unique contribution. This is what I really want out of life. This is what I want to get to. This is how I want to be perceived and how I want to show up. These are the standards I'm going to live by. This is a plan. Now we're on a plan. Now this is a plan for how to get there.
Now we've got a plan.
This, and this.
Yeah.
Okay. And this, and this, however, is the servant of. It's the servant of why you are, where you're going, how you want to be experienced, not the driver. It's the servant. And then you get to decide who's around your life, what volume you give to their voices, and how you're going to show up around them. It's just a powerful, powerful tool. So I would encourage you to journal it, use it, ask those questions, and begin to draw something out, which will. There's no promise that you'll be able to do all these things, but the promise is that you will, once you become aware of them, you have agency. And the agency enables you to make choices. And in those choices, you might find a better future and a better plan. Your plan is often not, your first plan is often not worth the paper it's written on. Your iterative plan, your dynamic plan, your plan when pushed through the filter of a framework suddenly becomes something that's living and active and dynamic and exciting and useful for you. So that's the reason why the truth about strategy is that strategy is overrated. So I hope that's helpful for you. But go away and journal it and ask yourself the why, where, what, how, who questions. And your business plan is often not worth the paper it's written on until it is subjected to a framework, not a playbook.